Hello. Hi, everybody. This is Natalie. I am doing a video, kind of a last minute, um, being that I have three different groups um, and a page. I decided to put my live video just on my personal page and then share it everywhere, and then in my YouTube. So I'm gonna get started. This is. Oh, hold on. It says share to groups. I'm going to share this to my groups. And there we go. And Facebook has really changed how they do lives. I no longer see conversations or comments. It's completely different, so bear with me. I am going to be talking about the wounds of the priestess and healer and persecution and blocks, and it's guided by Isis and Lakshmi, Mary Magdalene, and Kuan Yin. So I don't, oh goodness. Yeah, I'm not sure how to I'm going to have to do research on this. It's completely different of how to do comments. So, anyways, I'm just going to get started and do a video. So the reason why I'm here is this is a video about the persecution wounds of the healer and of the priestesses from many, many lifetimes past. And for those that don't know me, I'm Natalie. I am an energy healer and a spiritual guide, and I have a couple of different groups. One is the Empowered Sacred Feminine group, which is truly the force behind this particular video, and I have a general awakening group, Awaken Your Body and Soul, and I have my wisdom teachings of Mary Magdalene and Yeshua group. So I stay very busy, and I have my Magdalene's Wish page. And I just recently launched this past week, a week ago, my Empowered Sacred Feminine website. And so please check out that website. It's empoweredsacredfeminine.com. And oops, somebody's trying to join my room, and I don't know why it does that. My apologies. Lots of changes with Facebook with these rooms, and that they just, when they try to join, it rings like a phone call. So I might have to actually dismantle that option so I don't have interruptions. I'm sorry. Anyway, so I had pulled some cards earlier for kind of for myself, and I looked at them and I thought, these have a lot to do with this priestess wound, because, a lot of what we all experience is very similar. And so, what's happened in many lifetimes is when we've been priestesses, Isis priestess, a Magdalene priestess, the Rose lineage priestess, or were healers, or were considered witches, we were persecuted, we were killed, we were hung, we were burned, we were shamed, we were stoned. And what happens when we have that trauma and that persecution is our memory and our soul and in our subconscious remembers that, and it gets embedded in our DNA, in our etheric DNA, in our soul, and in our memory. And every lifetime, unless we clear it, those wounds and those memories are carried over and over and over again, and they stay with us. So when we have those wounds, they affect us profoundly, and those wounds will come up as blocks in our current life. So one of the cards that came up was share your voice, and it says, come out of the cave, persecution and expression. And this is from my Work Your Light Oracle deck. And this is about your voice. And so she's in a cave and there's water, she's in a dark cave, but looking out over onto a space of light and a space of water, which water represents emotions and water represents healing and feminine energy. So, and she's just sitting there looking at it. And the water, if you can see it, it's very wavy and choppy. So, and there's a pyramid. Actually, I'm just now noticing in the background, you can see a pyramid. So there is a pyramid there. So this is and the other card I got was Sisterhood of the Rose, Beauty, Devotion, Priestess, Mystic Teacher. And actually it has a picture that looks quite a lot like Mary Magdalene. So this has the Sisterhood of the Rose. So these cards came up together in terms of, this block of sharing our voice, of speaking our truth, of stepping into our power. And this can be anything. This could be just being authentic and having a block with being authentic to yourself. It could be having a block with sharing your truth to a spouse or to a friend, or speaking up at work, even if maybe there's inequality between masculine and feminine and that patriarchal, dominance. There might be fear of speaking up because there's inequality in your pay. So there's this block because we're afraid, right? We're afraid of what's going to happen to us. And we think in our minds, well, consciously, I know better than this. I should be paid the same. My skills are the same as his. I can, what's the deal, right? Oh, no, I don't want to upset them. I'm just going to be, quiet. I don't want to lose my job. I don't want to say anything to my spouse because I don't want to upset him. Well, what will they think of me if I share my true self? So we're afraid of the judgment. We're afraid of the persecution. We're afraid of what will happen because of consequences. 2,000 years ago, 1,000 years ago, 3,000 years ago was possibly death. Okay. It was really tragic things. Even though we're not experiencing that now, our subconscious doesn't know that. Our subconscious and our cellular DNA, our etheric DNA that gets carried over lifetime to lifetime, not our biological, but our energetic etheric DNA, which is encoded in light, it remembers. So we have this cellular memory. And if you're familiar with the energy body, our energy body has multiple layers. We have our physical layer, mental layer, emotional layer, our spiritual layer. Each one is about a foot thick, roughly. So wounds get embedded in each of these layers. It gets embedded in our body, in physical tissue, where we might have pain, say at the back of our neck. And the back of the neck, when I do integrative energy therapy, the back of the neck is the meridian point for threat. So if you're having neck problems and headache and anything back here, it could be a cellular memory in your tissues that comes up because of threat of maybe having your head cut off or being hung, or somebody coming up from behind you and choking you, or even just not feeling supported because your neck supports your head. So that's one example of a wound that I clear, this threat feeling that gets pulled. And when I do integrative energy therapy, we pull it from the tissue in the physical body that might cause physical changes. We pull it through the mental, the emotional, and the spiritual layer. So it gets pulled, and it takes multiple sessions usually, but it gets pulled through each of these auric layers because each of them holds this memory. And it depends how we're experiencing something. If it's I think, I feel, I see, the different levels of experience in terms of how the aura works and where it is stuck. It might be stuck all layers. It might just be stuck on the outer layers. And so when I do my healing work, I pull these wounds through with integrative energy therapy, and I literally pull, and I can feel on my hand where that block kind of is, because my hand gets a really sharp tingly feeling or a heavy dense feeling, and it will be easy to pull, and suddenly it becomes like hard to pull. So I can tell where blocks are. And so that neck is just one example. But going back to the persecution and the priestess, right now we're at this point in time where we're all being asked to step up to our mission, our soul path, our purpose. And that involves connecting with your soul, evolving up into your higher self, letting go of ego, not really letting go of ego, kind of managing the ego, instead of the ego being the manager, the ego becomes more like an employee of your soul and your higher self. So the higher self steps in, the ego's like, okay, I'll cooperate and I'll sit over here and I'll work with you, right? So, but in order for that higher self and soul to come in and for you to know and meet and become your higher self and embody your higher self, you have to release all of these blocks, the persecution, the fear, because ultimately that higher self and your soul and has these memories of the past, for one. For two, you may have aspects that are priestesses of the past. Like for me, I have an aspect of Mary Magdalene and Isis. We're here with me now, and I embody. So has taken me years to release blockages and wounds and fears to embody them. And I've had so much fear embodying Isis. And she's nodding, and it's been really scary for me because her energy is so powerful and it's so intense. And it's taken a lot of work, inner work, and I have to really be in a place of trust and surrender and courage to allow that energy in. Why am I afraid of it? Because we were persecuted for that power. Okay, we've been suppressed as women. It's like, be quiet, woman, you're less than a man. Even in the Bible, as I study reading with Yeshua, in my studies with Yeshua, it speaks a lot about woman is less than. You must honor and listen to your husband. Husband, yes, honor your wife and treat her well, but at the same time, the woman is less than. Okay, the woman must listen to. Now, Yeshua never said those words because he treated Mary Magdalene as an equal and as his first apostle. She was the apostle of the apostles. She was an equal. And his message was about equality, but unfortunately they weren't really ready for that then. She knew that, he knew that, because she was a high priestess and he was a high priest of Melchizedek order. Mary was a high priestess of Isis order. So, anyway, so these blocks from these past lives, they stay with us, right? And it can prevent us from stepping into our power and becoming our highest, best version of ourselves, which is our higher self. Now, our higher self is multiple things. It's our soul aspect, soul energy, and it's also all the additional aspects that we carry. So think of the soul think of our body to be like, let's use the analogy of a pot of soup. Our body's like the pot. The broth is the soul. The ingredients are the aspects, okay? So you might have 2 aspects, you might have 15, you might have more. I have a bunch, and I'm familiar with most of mine because I've been meeting them, but and I've been embodying them. But again, in order to get to that point, you have to really let go and release the fears, the blocks, the anxiety, because their energy is powerful and it's also high frequency. So in order to embody that high frequency, now different aspects, different beings are going to have different frequencies. So my Mary Magdalene frequency for me was easier to embody than the Isis one. And Sophia is even harder for me to embody because her frequency is really high. But in order for me to in order for me to embody that light, I had to release my density and release, right? So, and that's where a lot of the work is. And we have to release the blocks and fears. So they're just showing me my little book here. They want me to share a little bit about this Share Your Voice card. I think they want me to read some of it, so bear with me. I will read some. You're being called to share your voice, perhaps by speaking up in a relationship or through writing, speaking, singing, or some other form of creative expression. We each hold a truth deep within us that longs to be expressed, sculptured for lifetimes. The voice of your soul is like no other. It carries with it wisdom that can only be gained through soul history and growth. By remembering, tapping into, and expressing this unique tone, we not only heal ourselves, we also heal the planet at large. When you share your voice, you unlock something in the universe and call a missing piece of you home. Your individual voice is the most powerful sound current on the planet. If you have kept your soul's voice silenced or held back, chanting or singing could be truly life-changing for you. As we shed the layers of our personality and start letting our unique soul speak to us, we discover that we actually have a very clear message that longs to be shared. The more we speak, the clearer it gets. This has never been a better kept time in history than right now to rise up, speak your truth, and share your soul's voice. If you feel fearful, know that you are not alone and that the world needs your unique tone in order to harmonize. As we each rise up and share our song, we make it easier for the next person to do the same. Express yourself, share your voice, and speak to those who can hear you. And one thing I also will share is that the frequency of our voice, of our throat chakra, it's more than just the vocal cords. It's the throat chakra. It is actually affected and has a similar resonance even to past lives. The frequency of our soul is shared through our throat chakra. And we open it up by actually, even right now, I always feel a little nervous when I do videos, especially if it's a live video. But in doing that, in facing my fear and anxiety and insecurity of coming on Facebook and doing live on my page, which is public, and not even in the security of my group or on a video that I just put on YouTube, I'm doing it completely out in the open, right? In doing this, I am facing a fear, and I am healing my throat chakra just by doing this at this very moment, by speaking my truth and telling you what I do and about these wounds and the messages that Mary, Magdalene, and Isis have. And let me take a deep breath. So Isis is working with me really deep, and she and Mary brought me this incredible program, an Empowered Sacred Feminine Healing Program. And coming up 2 weeks today, I'm going to be starting a group healing program. And it's going to be 4 weeks, 2 hours each session. And it will be about healing core wounds. And the first session is going to be led by Isis. And it's really going to be about the wound of the priestess and the healer. And we're going to journey and kind of unlock these wounds. And we're going to do healing to help heal these wounds. So the first one is going to be persecution. And healing through energy healing these wounds as best as we can in a group setting. And then that is, each week is going to have a different theme of core wounds. So I'm excited about that. But I wanted to share more about this little cool. If you hear a funny noise, that's my dog chewing on his bone. So these blocks, the other card I got was answer the call. What is your soul calling you to do? And so this is, again, what I was just saying about the higher self. Our higher self and our soul and our aspects are always communicating with us, are always calling us, are always guiding us. We need to listen and allow that in and not be afraid of what they're guiding us to and what they're speaking to us for. And again, we can know what that is, but be afraid of it. We might hear the same voice, the same comment, the same language in our mind of do this, do this, do this. I need to move. For example, I lived in Texas before I moved back home to Canada where I am now. And I worked there as a nurse for 23 years. And the last few years, it was constant, go home, go home, go home. This voice inside of me. It's time to go home. It's time to go home. This isn't the right place for you. And I wasn't listening, and I got sick. I was in the hospital for 2 weeks, and for the most ridiculous, silly reason, I lost my job. And it was all planned because I wasn't listening to the voice inside of me. I wasn't listening to my heart or to my soul. So my higher self took over and said, okay, I'm taking over. This is what's going to happen. And so when we're not listening to the higher self can come in and kind of be a little bit rougher and sometimes gentle, sometimes a little bit rougher, but we get put in these scenarios that force us to shift, because we're not answering the call, because ultimately we're here for a mission in our soul path and soul journey. And, our soul is going to do everything that it can to pull us into that alignment for where we're meant to be. And that can be scary. It can be very scary. And some people have done a tremendously beautiful job healing and have done a lot of healing in past lives, and they're coming in with maybe not a lot of karma and not a lot to heal, and they're able to really know and step into that power. Or they still have those wounds, but their knowing is so strong and they're just stepping into it, even feeling uncomfortable, they're stepping into it. So they're doing that. But again, if you're having trouble with stepping into that power, embodying your higher self, connecting to your higher self, stepping into what you're called to do as a priestess or a healer or a spiritual teacher, spiritual guide, then please check out my group program and my website for the type of healing I do, because what I'm here to do is to actually help heal these wounds through coaching and guidance and energy healing, where I do a variety of energy healing techniques, including advanced form of energy healing with Sophia that she gifted me, and integrative energy therapy with the archangels. And we pull, like I said, all these layers and layers and layers of blocks from all the different layers of the energy body from the tissues. And that takes a good 3, 4, 5 sessions. So on my website, there's an entire program. It's a 9-week intensive program. And we go in and we do clearing of all kinds of core wounds, what mother wound, father wound, sexual trauma wounds, priestess healer wounds. And it takes time and it takes work. And ultimately, it's your own work, your own effort, your own honesty, in your willingness to look in the mirror and at yourself and to face the wounds, to feel the pain again, so you can pull it through the heart center and heal it again and release it. So that's really how you release these wounds, okay? And one other card that I had pulled is, it says protection, but ultimately it says protection, call back your power, cut the cord, soul retrieval. But it's really the image of these women with their arms kind of crossed over their face, and they are it's a block, right? So all these cards came up together, and it says on their soul retrieval. So when we have trauma from rape, abuse, being killed and persecuted, stoned, burned, whatever it is, again, we have that cellular memory, and those blocks will stay with us until we clear them. Sometimes we can clear them on our own. Sometimes you need the help of a healer. But we have, one of the other things we experience is soul loss. So every time we heal and we remember a location, or we journey in meditation, or we physically go visit a place, our soul and our cellular memory will remember that place, and you'll feel a piece come back to you. You have a soul retrieval kind of thing. So a fragment will come back. And I've experienced this several times, and once was somebody sharing a video of chanting in the room where they had the Last Supper. And I saw it and I just bawled my eyes out, and I had this cellular memory knowing, without anything cognitive. There was nothing cognitive. There was no thinking or thought. It was just this instant, oh my gosh, I've been there before, and all this energy came back to me, and it was very deep and very healing. And another one was with the Cathars. If you're familiar with the Cathars, they protected the Holy Grail, the message of Mary Magdalene, the true teachings of Yeshua. That was the pure teachings, and the true lineage of the Holy Grail of Mary and Yeshua, the lineage of them. So they protected that sacred information, and those that were of the Grail family or of the bloodline, they were burnt. Many of them were burned, and a lot of information was lost. And I think it was Judith Kutzel. She had shared a video doing some chanting and toning of a song back from that time of the Cathars and a prayer. And I don't have any conscious recall of being a Cathar or being in that timeline, but apparently I was, because I had such a deep cellular memory, and I fell to my knees to the floor just crying and feeling the pain as if it just happened. So as painful as those moments are, you experience this soul retrieval that it says here. I don't know if you can even see that. It says soul retrieval in the bottom of that. You experience soul retrieval and a fragment's coming back to self. So healing can be really difficult and painful, and oftentimes we block, okay, the way that they have their arms, we block. And I've done it. We've all done it. We block the healing process. We're afraid to go there. We say, I don't need the healing. We're afraid to do it. And oftentimes we've done some stuff ourselves, but sometimes we're afraid to go deeper because it means feeling that pain and facing that fear again. And it's not easy, but you can talk to anybody who has really truly stepped into their power, into their light work, into their mission, who is truly embodying their higher self and becoming their higher self. you ask them how much work it took them to get there. And that's a lot. And it's deep. And it's painful. And it's scary. And I feel I almost want to cry right now. It's scary and it hurts. Because I've had to remember, for example, the crucifixion of Jesus, of Yeshua, 3, 4, 5 times. Well, more than that, but multiple times I've gone through and experienced it again, and it's it's excruciating pain, and it's been very healing, and I help clear the timelines, and I'm not the only one who carries Magdalene energy who's experienced this. Many have, and we all help clear that timeline together. That carry that Magdalene energy. From this other card I pulled, the Priestess card, Sisterhood of the Rose. So we're all clearing that line. And we're all clearing these blocks. And that's ultimately what priestesses do as well. We heal and we clear, right? We work as light workers for the planet, which is what a priestess really does, among many things. We work with energy. But so in all of that remembrance, it's painful, it can be traumatic, and it's difficult. But that's clearing out all those wounds and all those memories is what helps us to step into our power and our higher self and embody that higher self. And that can be scary, but that's really what we're here to do. And so I know Isis's mission with me, she's got many, but one of her missions with me is following your soul calling and listening to your higher self and your soul truth of this is reversed, sorry. Following your higher self and what is your soul calling you to do. And do you have blocks that need to be healed and cleared? And do you need to do soul retrieval, right? Do you need to be speaking your truth and sharing your voice, or is it still blocked? Are you here to be a spiritual teacher in devotion to being a priestess? And one of the words when I was writing my notes for this was, when I was working with Isis, it was the priestess healer. It came up for me, and I'm like, the priestess healer. And she's like, oh, I felt heart opening when you said the priestess healer. And she said, yeah, priestess healer. I was like, oh, that's an interesting title or a name or whatever you want to call it. And so she was just basically saying, yeah, like, I need your help to heal these wounds of the priestesses, because so many women on the planet are healers and teachers and priestesses and spiritual guides, and they're not stepping into their power because of fear, because of shame from the past, right? They're not fully, they're kind of doing a little bit, or they're doing it very carefully, like standing in the doorway, which I did. Like this card, see how she's sitting at the edge of the cave? Like she's looking out and she's thinking, do I dare go into those wavy waters of my emotions and heal? Do I dare? Or do I stay in this cool, dark cave where it's safe? Right? Like, I mean, that card kind of says a lot just visually. She's looking at the memory of the pyramid representing, say, Isis and being a priestess. She's looking at the wavy water and the deep emotions, and do I want to feel that again? And then we create blocks because we know it's not easy. We know remembering that past is not easy. But in order to do this, you have to clear those blocks and clear those fears. Ultimately is what you have to do. So that's really my message, is really just speaking about this wound of the high priestess. And there's a lot more to it. This is just kind of the biggest one with being a healer and priestess. I'm just going to ask Isis, do you want me to share about the block with the lifestyle of a priestess? No. Okay. There's more to it. Wait until we do. Okay. So there's a lot more to it. She's asking me to wait until we do the group program. The group program is coming up in 2 weeks. It's going to be an awesome group program. Visit empoweredsacredfeminine.com and then go to group transmissions. There's going to be 4 weeks. First week is Isis. Second week is Kuan Yin. Third week is Lakshmi. Fourth week is Mary Magdalene. Each one is going to tackle different topics. Sophia and all of these 4 beautiful goddesses are going to be guiding and helping me. And we're going to discuss in greater detail these core wounds and blocks. And then we're going to do energy healing and activations and transmissions with them. So I'll bring them through and do transmissions. When Lakshmi comes in, we're going to be talking about throat chakra and lack consciousness. And if you're not familiar with Lakshmi, there's a card of her right here. Her energy and her wisdom and guidance is all about abundance. And so, while many women we see around the world are stepping into that power and creating beautiful abundance for themselves, some of us still have these blocks of self-worth, or this programming still, this hanging with us of being unequal. And it might be related to how we were raised. It might be related to past lives. So in Lakshmi section, we're going to be working with her and helping release blocks related to abundance. And that includes your intellectual, if you've ever, been made to feel less than a man, that you're not as smart, not as wise, not as important, that you're sub, you're below. So that's going to be with Lakshmi. With Kuan Yin, her energy is all about compassion and softness, and her energy is very similar to Mother Mary's energy. And so with her, we're going to be working just on general abuse and general suppression and patriarchal wounds of the inequalities. And with Mary Magdalene, it's going to be about sexual trauma. So we're going to focus on sexual healing, victimhood, dysfunctional sexual relationships that are all ego-based, lower chakra, and healing and activating to help you release, we'll release like hooks and clear and purify the womb, and just do a lot of clearing in the womb. So we'll do some womb healing and clearing sexual blocks from the chakras and that for her session. So it's going to be exciting. It's going to be starting on February 6th. They're going to be on Zoom 2 p.m. And if you can't do live, it'll be recorded. So you get the email and a link. And the prices are Canadian, so you have to subtract about 25%. So it's roughly $130-ish American, which is a really good deal for like 4 2-hour sessions. And then you can join my Empowered Sacred Feminine group as well. So empoweredsacredfeminine.com. Visit the group transmissions tab for details, and that's where you sign up also for the group program. So if anybody has any questions, please comment. I will look at the comments after. And for those watching on YouTube or replay, please comment also. Please like and subscribe for YouTube. Please join my group, Empowered Sacred Feminine, if you're interested in more of these topics, working with goddesses and going deeper about topics regarding sexuality, sacred sexuality, empowering, how to become more empowered, how to heal core wounds, priestess topics, goddess topics, all of these topics I am working on with all of these goddesses and in my group. So, calling back your power. They're just pointing to one of my cards that says call back your power. Okay, so I guess it's about, you're asking me to call back my power? No. Okay, I'm just listening to what they're trying to tell me. Using your power, not being afraid to use your power. That's what they're saying. Okay. Not being afraid to use your power and receive the power of your higher self. So it's about opening up. You see how they have their arms crossed? It's about opening your arms, not being like this, but being like this, and opening and expanding your energy to receive and become. And that's a lot of what my work is. So anyway, thank you everybody. For being here, and much love to you all. And if you have any questions, leave a comment, and please visit my website, and I'll put this on YouTube. Thank you. Bye-bye.